Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Pantor Nautilus dive watch. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but you guys know the deal by now. That's not going to sway my review one way or another. You will always get my honest review on this channel, and if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'm going to be leaving a link down in the video description. That is a link to the Amazon website, and you can see all the options that you have right there. The retail price for this watch is $149 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, etc. I have seen the price kind of go up and down on just a little bit on this watch, so just keep that in mind. I believe $149 is the lowest I've seen it, so it seems like a pretty good time to buy, I guess. And they do also offer this with the NH35 for $279 US. The watch comes in the 4 colorways that you can see on screen here. They all look pretty good to me. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance. They claim it has C1 superluminova on the dial, and the watch is powered by the Swiss Ronda 515 quartz movement. So if you guys are kind of in the market for a big chunky quartz diver, this might be the one for you. I say we dig in, see if it's any good, but before we do a quick wrist check today. Wearing the Militato ML01. Really a very cool watch. Review for this one I'm pretty sure will be next up on the table. So if you're interested in this, subscribe, and hopefully this will be up next week. Alright, so let's get into the dimensions. Got a diameter of 45 millimeters, case thickness of 12.8 millimeters, 24 millimeter lug width, nice compact lug to lug of 46.5 millimeters, and on the supplied rubber strap, weighs about 116 grams. So like I said, this is a kind of a big chunky dive watch, 45 millimeters in diameter, 12.8 millimeters thick. It's not bad for a watch like this. And then this is kind of that turtle-esque shape, so pretty short and compact lug to lug. It does wear a lot better than the 45 millimeters suggests. So yeah, I think it wears all right. I'm gonna go outside right now, throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, I can pull this off. I've got the wrist for it. It does have that kind of turtle-esque shape to it, so it is pretty short lug to lug, and the thickness is not too bad either, so it does look pretty good despite its 45 millimeter diameter. But as you can see here, there is no anti-reflector coating on the crystal, which we'll talk about. And the strap is really stiff, really bad. I tried to break this thing in, and it just would not break in, so it is not the most comfortable. You can actually see I've got it buckled down pretty tight on me, so yeah, it's just not a great combo. And unfortunately, Florida has been a little bit stingy with its sun lately, but this is kind of what it looks like in just a little bit of different lighting. But yeah, I do really like the color of the bezel. I think that looks pretty good. Sorry about the wind. So yeah, 24 millimeter strap, so I have no straps to put on this thing, so let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. Alright, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So case finishing is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. Done pretty nice in my opinion. You have a circular brushing on the tops of the lugs here, very nice and fine, it's kind of satinized brushing. It's got a pretty good luster to it as well. Flipping it to the case sides here, you have high polishing on the case sides, pretty nice slope on the case sides as well, nice and thin on that mid case, so it does appear pretty thin on wrist. Flipping it to the crown side here, you can see you do have a signed crown, which is nice, kind of has that Nautilus logo on it. But yeah, really nicely done. The polishing, I see no issues with it. I've got no complaints with it. Maybe just a little bit wavy, but really nothing out of the ordinary for a price like this. Flipping it over to the case back here, you can see you got your nice big Nautilus there. Looks really good. Stainless steel, Pantor, Nautilus, Swiss movement, 200 meters. Typical spec sheet around the outside. You got little notches here to get a tool in there. I did take the case back off of this, so I'll pop up a shot of the movement when we go and talk about that. But yeah, pretty nicely done in my opinion. This bottom edge of the case here, it's a little bit sharp, but I really didn't notice it on wrist too much. So yeah, overall, I think the case finishing is perfectly acceptable at this price point. All right, so let's talk about the bezel in this thing. So we do have an aluminum bezel insert, which is nice to see. You don't really typically see aluminum bezels anymore, and I love them. I absolutely love them. I like the different sheen that the numbers get, as opposed to just a white filled paint. So yeah, really happy with the bezel insert on this thing. This one is obviously blue and red for the Pepsi. They do have a Batman and then all black. But yeah, pretty nicely done in my opinion. Kind of a rounded off triangle there at the 12 o'clock. You do have a Lume pip in there. The alignment on mine is just spot on, as you can see. The bezel itself, really nice and big and chunky and grippy. Tons of grip on it. The finishing is done nicely. It's all brushed. Yeah, I think it looks really good. Like I said, there's tons and tons of grip. The action on it, you can see here, it is very solid. There's no play in this bezel. There's no movement, no lateral movement. There's no up and down movement on it when you're pressing on it. So it's a very solid feeling bezel. The action, it is a 120 click unidirectional. The clicks sound a little cheap, I'm going to say. So I'll just let you listen to it. Hopefully you guys can hear this. So it doesn't sound great. You know, the resistance is good. Like I mentioned, it just locks right into place, so that's good. The alignment is good as well. I'm overall pretty satisfied with it. The clicks, they sound a little cheap, and I do feel kind of like a double click when I'm doing this. So you can kind of hear it. I'm hoping you can hear it, but there's kind of like this double click. Especially in this first quarter of the dial. Once you get around to here, it's just single click. So there's no like high or low spots or anything. It just doesn't sound quality. That's all. But perfectly a functional bezel. All right, so let's talk about the crystal on this thing. So I'm going to test it for sapphire. You can see here, it is not sapphire crystal. I did mention that it was sapphire earlier on in the specs. Hopefully you guys caught that I made a mistake there. So the automatic version of this watch is a sapphire crystal. This one is just a mineral crystal. So it is just a flat piece of mineral crystal. As you can see there, it doesn't protrude from the bezel or anything. It's unoffensive. You know, mineral crystal gets a bad rap, but it is more shatter resistant and it is less reflective in nature. So it's not all bad with mineral crystal, but I know at a price like this, on a watch like this, people are going to want to see sapphire. Yeah, let's zoom in. We'll talk about the dial on this thing. So the dial is pretty nicely done, actually. It's a fully printed dial, matte black, as you can see there, but a really nice color. You have this kind of shield logo at the 12 o'clock, circular indices everywhere else except 3, 6, and 9. You got those square ones. A white printed minute track around the outside, which butts right up to that rehout. The depth on this dial, it's something I did notice. It's a little deep, probably more deep than it needs to be, but I think it's all, fairly proportional. The handset that they use on this, kind of nice, big, broad sword hands. Yeah, I see no real issues with it. It is pretty nicely done. The handset is fully polished there and faceted. The second hand does have that lollipop on it there. The handset, just a touch off the minute markers, as you can see there. Now, sometimes when you get a watch like this and you tilt the dial a little bit, the hand does have a little bit of slop in it, so it could align. This one just seems to be off wherever. So just something to note. It is pretty close. It hasn't bothered me really, but yeah, definitely could be better. You have your Pantor branding there at the 12 o'clock position, 200 meters, 660 feet at the 6 o'clock position. And then between the 4 and 5, you have a cutout for the day window, just a simple cutout, nicely aligned. But I think a lot of people would like it not there, down at the 6 o'clock. Even at the 3 o'clock wouldn't be that bad. So just something to consider. I know a lot of people are going to appreciate that though. The indices, like I mentioned, they are all printed on the dial. They say they use C1 Superluminova. I am not seeing that at all. The lume on this watch is pretty poor. So I'm going to pop up a lume shot here. You can see it against a couple other watches in the collection, and it just does not do great. You can see it pretty much starts to fade immediately. A watch like this deserves to have really good lume, and this one just doesn't have it. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Swiss Ronda 515. It is kind of the basic bare bones Swiss quartz movement. They're like under $10. So if you need to replace it, they're readily available and very cheap. The movement has a 45-month battery life on it. It is 1 joule, and that's pretty much all you need to know about the movement. Like I said, the movement should be reliable and accurate. The accuracy of this one, Ronda claims an accuracy of -10 seconds to plus 20 seconds per month. So accuracy should be fine on this thing. Movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown here, nicely signed, nice and big crown. The screw in and screw out action, it feels a little bit gritty. It's not super smooth, but it's not bad. You do have a gasket in here that you can see aids in the 200 meters of water resistance. First position does nothing. Second position is your date, So you can click that around. So it is a quick set date, which is nice. You can see the alignment. The alignment's pretty good on this one. Pulling it out to the last position here, it does hack the movement, and this is where you set the time. Everything functions as you would expect it to. It feels fine. I see no issues with it. The screw in action, like I said, it's a little bit gritty, but definitely not bad at all. I've got, if you're into these quartz movements, the Swiss round, it's basic and bare bones, but it's nothing fancy, but it's definitely not a negative either. All right, so let's talk about the strap on this thing. And the strap is kind of my big sticking point with this watch. I kind of like the watch head. The watch head's fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. But this strap is absolutely terrible. So it is 24 millimeters, and it tapers down to 22 millimeters. It's this black rubber strap. It's nice and soft, I'll say, or, smooth feeling, but it is not flexible at all. I had this thing wrapped around a watch pillow for 2 weeks, and I took it off, and it just kind of sprung back to coming straight out. So when you have it on wrist, it kind of pinches your wrist on the sides here, and it kind of lifts the watch up off your wrist. The strap on this thing is terrible. The buckle on this thing, it is signed with the Pantor there, but you can see just how thin and flimsy this buckle is. It is just garbage. This buckle is terrible. This strap is terrible. There's no quick release either. And it's 24 millimeters. So finding a strap is going to be a little bit more difficult than, say, a 22 millimeter strap. I don't like this strap at all. Definitely plan on budgeting an extra, $10 to $20 for a nice rubber strap on this thing. Because this one is it's garbage. So there you go, guys. That is the Pantor Nautilus Quartz. Like I mentioned, they do have this with the NH35 for $279. You do get sapphire with that as well. So just something to consider. But I'm just not seeing the value in this thing. The strap on it is terrible. The mineral crystal, the poor lume. There's not a whole lot positive to say about this watch, especially at the approximately $150 price range. There's a lot of watches out there for $150 that are going to be better than this one. If you like this style, sure, go for it. People are going to say they want the quartz, and that's fine too. If you want the quartz, I guess this isn't a bad option. But if you are willing to go to an automatic, there's tons of watches in this style, in this size, that are a lot better value than this one. And that's just my take on it. So, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.